Built for the Roman Emperor Nero in the 1st century AD and situated southeast of the ancient site of Olympia, Greece. Emperor Nero, if you don't know who he was the last of the Julia Claudians to rule the Roman Empire 54 AD to 68 AD. His 14-year reign represents everything about the period bad about the period in Roman history. He was self-indulgent, cruel, and violent, as well as a cross-dressing exhibition. His lavish parties, combined with the burning of Rome, continued the economic chaos that had plagued the Roman citizens since the days of Tiberius. Christians also viewed Nero as the Antichrist. His house was, since he was a distinguished guest, is why they built him a special house, and he had it built for the games of 67 AD he took place in a chariot race in the Hippodrome. Strangely, he managed to have himself declared the winner despite being thrown out of his chariot and not finishing the race. He competed in the Pan-Hellenic Games of Olympic and Delia during the Roman period. And when he decided to participate in the games, he had a luxurious house built here with the octagon, luxurious bathroom. The edifice was During the Roman period, the games were opened up to all citizens of the Roman Empire, not just the Greek, since he was a Roman. And Nero, who loved Greek culture, bribed the Olympic officials to have the games postponed for 2 years so he could fit it into his tour of Greece in AD 67. He ordered those contests, which normally took place only at long intervals, to be held during his visit, even it meant repeating them, and broke tradition at Olympia by introducing a musical competition into the athletic games. No one was allowed to leave the theater during his recitals, however, pressuring the reason, and the gates were kept barred closed. Suetonius was said Nero read of women in the audience giving birth, and of men being so bored with the music and the applause that they dropped down from the wall and were dead and were carried away for burial. Suetonius also portrays Nero as neglecting his governing duties for months at times to play in the Olympic Games. So further east of the southeast building, this building's function is unknown, and it was a shrine to Hestia that was leveled to make room for his house. His house had 30 rooms. One was the octagon bathroom. The opulent residence comprised a spacious, persistent court surrounded by many rooms and gardens, and it was elaborately built with gardens and the mosaic and arched roofs of the baths are still well preserved. An interim led onto a room and an iconic person court with decorative water channels. On the south was a hot water bath with apse. The entrance on the west side was preceded by an arched portico and opened onto an atrium from which 2 corridors led to the court. The south wing housed the bath, and the building was altered in later years by the construction of the so-called East Bath, which dates to the reign of the Septimius earlier century AD. It also contained several cold rooms and hot rooms, and then the pools and the gardens. The well-preserved tepid room in the southeast corner was a huge octagonal room built of bricks with vaulted ceiling and a remarkable mosaic floor having marine life. West of the buildings are the foundations of Nero's arch and the remaining of a small Odeon of the 3rd century AD. The monument, in particular, surviving the wall plaster, was recently restored and has been open to the public since 2002. In the 1st century AD, the building had replaced the sanctuary of Hestia, as well as other buildings of classical times. Built in great of old materials, including the remains of other statues, and the floor is large slabs of gray stone. During the 3rd century of AD, the southeast building underwent alterations. It had severe damages from a series of earthquakes, and invading tribes in the 267 AD led to the center of the site being fortified with material robbed from its monuments. Despite the destruction, the Olympic festival continued to be held at the site until the last Olympian in 393 AD, after which the Christian Emperor Theodorus I implemented a ban. The Temple of Zeus was apparently destroyed around 426 AD following an edict of Theodorus II enforcing the ban on the pagan festivals. And then, the building was remodeled and enlarged several times until the 4th century AD. Later, Romans again enlarged and altered the building, which may perhaps have been used for the reception of Roman governors. Archaeologists' evacuations revealed the presence of a lead water pipe bearing the name insertion Nero, like Og, an abbreviation that the Nero Augustus used. Name confirmed